Altdorf engineering is a thing of beauty. Rugged and industrial, yet cool, calm, and collected in the face of adversity. But every once in a while, bloodlust overtakes these Imperials, and they feel the touch of the sanguinary unholiness, the kiss of corn. Will this rampage pluck Teclis from his perch? Can the steamiest and dreamiest Panzer that you ever did lay eyes on crush the High Elves on their home turf? Or will the parrot have the last laugh? That rainbow-colored freak. I see it in my dreams. It's an interesting mount, often oppressive in the right hands, but it has one glaring weakness, and that is its exorbitant cost. It's like buying a Bugatti when you live in Harry Potter's closet under the stairs. When you bring Teclis, it's kinda hard to afford other stuff, so he better put in some work. Thankfully, if you're the High Elves, that's not such a tall order, because he is a beast with an amazing spell selection, super hard to catch, and even harder to kill. Really, it's just the standard fare for him here, minus the Sword of Teclis. Enfeebling Foe, Regrowth, Net of Amontok, and that word save. Hard to kill him, hard to bring him down, hard to bring him low. But other than the parrot, not an incredibly exciting High Elf army here. Bunch of Rangers, Spearmen, Lothern Seaguard with Silverhelm support, but nothing too crazy going on. But I do like the idea that we're about to see. We got a Mage with Plague of Rust. Don't often see another caster alongside Teclis, but having an extra spammable spell to lower armor of Reichsguard or Steam Tanks can completely change the game. Opens up a lot of opportunity for the archers to leave a larger footprint. You've seen it on the channel before. I love the Phoenix Guard Corps here just because they can kill literally anything on the Empire roster, but you can't afford them with Teclis on the Arcane Phoenix, and going wider with the infantry and the cav makes plenty of sense anyway when you're expecting lots of gunpowder, and gunpowder it shall be, for it is one of the Empire's 3 pillars. Grenade launchers, 2 Outriders, 3 Reichsguard, which are very good cav against the High Elves, even if they are a bit lacking in the speed department, 2 Imperial Knights, and the Panzerjäger itself, a unit we see often against the Knife Eaters, and for good reason. It just kind of does everything for getting rid of martial prowess, good for sniping single entities, good for killing cav and infantry and causing terror, and providing some rolling thunder in the middle of battle. And you can heal it with life magic for some reason, which is really dumb, but that won't play a factor here because instead of a life mage, we have Balthazar Gelt. Welcome to Bleak Dale, gentlemen. Now, Gelt has to be extra super careful this game because Teclis on that Burb of Doom is a hard counter to Quicksilver the Pegasus. Teclis is faster, way better in melee, can tank supporting shots from below, and can net Gelt in place and eat his face. I'm not sure there's a better counter in Warhammer 2 to Gelt, so getting those metal spells off will be hard for him with the Arcane Phoenix in support. Just saw Zitler's Reichsguard ambushing Vanguarded on the Empire right flank, and already Steam Tank firing into the bolt throwers to try to get rid of them. Now, a couple things the Empire can do to get rid of the artillery. The bolt thrower by itself, unfortunate little ranger there, won't be able to take the Steam Tank down by itself, but remember there's no healing, so doing any damage to it whatsoever is good value. But Searing Dooms are a really nice counter, because you can use it from really far away, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to dodge. You have to jump off it pretty quick to get out of the way of that spell, and 1 or 2 good Searing Dooms should be enough to finish it off completely. So, good use of that spell from Gelt, and good use of the grenade launchers to clear out the martial prowess on these High Elf spears early. Just do a little bit of damage to them, and a Reichsguard charge frontally will mess them up bad. Have you heard of the High Elves? Must have been the wind. Body's still warm. Looks like there's a killer about. Yeah, I don't know what those guys are doing. They're just kind of staring as their bodies are torn asunder by that Steam Tank from downtown. They really need to start paying more attention, maybe dodge out of the way when that artillery is unleashed. Teclis is getting very aggressive out in the front of the army, just trying to absorb some shots with that 12% ward save and the 20% physical resistance. Really hard to kill him, and then you add the Potion of Shiroi and Regrowth on top of that. He really doesn't care too much if he gets shot at a little bit. Bolt throwers and the archers getting in range of the Outriders now. Good maneuvering to get out of the way of all those volleys coming in, and the High Elves are getting aggressive in the front with their spears, who are already down past half HP and have lost their martial prowess, and I think they did brace in time. Yeah, they might have gotten that bracing bonus. Either way, it wouldn't have mattered. Reichsguard downhill charge, brutal, right into the center of their formation and bowling right through while the Outriders with grenade launchers fire over the top, start exploding some Rangers. So definitely a good opening for the Empire so far. dealing some fantastic damage to the infantry, but it really is just fodder. If the Rangers or the High Elf Spears are blown up, it's really not the biggest deal in the world for the High Elves. They have tons of cheap fodder infantry. It looks like the Steam Tank will be able to finish off that bolt thrower pretty soon here. Imagine it's down to only 1 or 2 artillery pieces left anyway, and this is what Gelt has to be super careful of. He has to be aware of the fact that Teclis has all that speed, all that maneuverability with 120 on top of that Arcane Phoenix. Net of Ammontok goes down, and Gelt, you are in for a world of hurt here, son. Enfeebling foe down as well. Lowers his melee defense. He's rocking 1019 as a legendary lord, and that could be disastrous if he cannot get away from this situation. You can see Teclis is faster than him. He's closing the gap. Even though Quicksilver is one of the fastest mounts in Warhammer 2, Teclis is faster and way scarier in melee. So as Gelt retreats to safer ground, fleeing in terror from that parrot, the Imperials have thrown their own counterpunch. They've cried havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Downhill charges from the Empire's finest all across the line, and even the Steam Tank getting stuck in, chugging along, and punishing anyone foolish enough to get in the way. This is why that Steam Tank can be such a good pick in this matchup. That ability to quickly shift between ranged and close quarters combat, depending on what is needed at the time. They've buckled the High Elf Center, but Gelt has routed for the second time now, and he is on slivers of HP. Probably 3 strikes from Teclis would be enough to finish him off, and they are perilously close to the white line, so he might not be able to escape. Meanwhile, Ziller's Reichsguard have unleashed their own ambush, running down some High Elf Spears, and these Rangers have no help, no support whatsoever. Archers might be able to fire in and deal a little bit of damage, but yeah, they'll be run over. And now the Imperials can look to take the fight into the lake and start pushing these archers back and into a pretty nasty sandwich with Zintler's Reichsguard closing in from the rear. Upgraded Plague of Rust, taking them down to half armor, but not a lot of focus fire to follow it up at the moment. And the Empire's doing a good job of shutting down some of this range play. Looks like the Cav is coming down from the hilltop with the spears in support. And this could be a great engagement for the Imperials if they're able to get rid of some of these High Elf archers. And it looks like they will be able to do so. Beautiful charge into the butt of those Azure archers. They're bowled over, and they are losing a ton of their health and ability to fire in. Meanwhile, Teclis is taking a great engagement on this side with the help of some Silver Helms, enfeebling foe going down, and a net of Ammontok, which did not actually tie... just in time, actually. I think a few models were able to get their charge bonus up, but the rest of them were tied down by that net of Ammontok. Very nicely played from the High Elves there, and it's very much needed because it's not going so well in other areas of the battlefield. Nice shots coming in from the archers, though, getting rid of those outriders with grenade launchers who stayed in the pocket a little bit too long. And speaking of staying in there too long, I think Zintler's Reichsguard probably hung in this engagement a little bit too long as well. Those Lothern Seaguard do have bonus versus large. They can defend themselves in melee against cavalry quite admirably. So the Steam Tank has taken this opportunity to say, all right, well, if Teclis is going to go engage over on my left, I'm going to go in right up the center and start running over infantry. Lothern Seaguard do not have enough armor piercing to really deal a lot of damage to the Steam Tank unless it just kind of sits in there and does nothing. But as with any chariot, Steam Tanks keep moving, and if it continues cycle charging and bowling through, yeah, Lothern Seaguard aren't going to have the AP values to deal a lot of damage to that. So it'll have a fun time until Teclis decides to meander his way over. And in the meantime, he is pretty busy dealing with the Reichsguard near this tree line. A lot of spears closing in. With cavalry in support, they might be able to shutter him and tie him down long enough for the Outriders to get some good volleys in, but you're going to have to force out a lot of healing before you get Teclis even close to death or to that healing cap. Outriders grenade launchers have returned to the fold, but still in range of all of these archers and still getting torn up by their pin cushioning volleys. Steam Tank plunging out of the very shallow lake and going right through the Lothern Seaguard, who tried their best to brace for the impact, but there's not too much bracing that helps against something that weighs 4,000 pounds and comes at you with all the fury of Sigmar himself. My god. Altdorf engineering is truly superior. Arcane Phoenix doing exactly what the steam tank is doing over on the other side of the battlefield, causing a lot of terror and mulching hordes of infantry. Mama, there goes that parrot. Teclis, he's a force over on this side of the battlefield. He's doing a lot for the High Elves right now. He's keeping them in this fight. And alongside some spearmen and rangers, they might just have enough impetus to push back these spears and maybe force the Outriders further into the woods as well. But I would say at this point in the battle, it is not so important for Teclis to be over here. At the moment, he's tied down by cavalry, okay, so he can't get away right away. But while the steam tank is isolated on this side of the battlefield, Teclis should be going right for him. He should know, the High Elves should know at this point, the steam tank is the linchpin of this Imperial build. With Balthazar Gelt off of the field, no longer able to cast any magic, it's time for Teclis to goon out this steam tank and get rid of it. So I think he's spending too much time over there in a battle that he really doesn't need to care too much about. The steam tank doesn't have any help over here. Teclis would have help from the Lothern Sea Guard and the Mage. Now is a great time to isolate and destroy it, but Teclis is stuck in an engagement that really just kind of seems like a waste of time, and it's giving the Outriders a lot of time to fire into him and kind of mess him up. So those Reiksguard are patrolling in the back, running off a lot of the archers. That is a regrowth forced out. Yeah, he stayed in this pocket way too long. Regrowth will make sure he does not rout off. He'll be okay. He has Potion of Shiroi for the 44% ward save on top of everything else as well, so he's fine. But yeah, this should have happened a minute ago or so, I think. Now it looks like he realizes the steam tank is top priority. We'll see if he goes for it or not. But the High Elves have done a good job defending against all the Reiksguard that were diving into their rear. Yeah, just go towards the steam tank. Kill it. Now is the time. Lothern Sea Guard got a full surround off. Phoenix starts plunking into it, and you can get rid of this behemoth, this Panzer, pretty quick. Yeah, he's got the full surround off now, but the terror routes are beginning to kick in for the infantry. Enfeebling foe dropped on the Steamy Boy, and the Arcane Phoenix getting some great attacks into the rear. So let's see who wins this duel. I mean, in a long, drag-it-out, prolonged fight, I would imagine the Arcane Phoenix has no issues winning this whatsoever. But now the Outriders are coming in, and that will complicate things, because even with the ward save, even with the physical resistance, even with the Potion of Shiroi, and all the healing, armor-piercing gunpowder volleys from Imperial skirmishers can hurt single entities. They'll hurt you a lot if you just sit there and take it. Nice charge coming in from Zintler's Reiksguard. They've done a lot to shut down the High Elves' ranged presence, but they might not be around for too much longer with the Arcane Phoenix nearby. The Mage, the Metal Mage, is still alive. Balthazar Gelt is not the last Metal Mage standing on this field, and I imagine she'll be able to cast one or two more Plague of Rust this game. We've seen one Regrowth and a couple none of Ammontox, but I don't think the High Elves have really blasted their Winds of Magic capabilities up to this point. They're certainly past where Teclis would normally have that ward save. I think he's probably lost that at this point, while the Reiksguard are still hunting down the Lothern Sea Guard, and while they are spears, they will die to these kind of cycle charges in the late game, I think, and yeah, one more charge from the Outriders indeed will finish them off for good. The Arcane Phoenix is not at the healing cap yet, I don't believe, but the steam tank is still top priority for the Imperials outside of the cavalry, and I think this is not a bad idea at this point. You want to make sure that the cav isn't alive so that when you go in for that duel with the steam tank, you don't get surrounded. Earlier, he could have gone for the steam tank because the cavalry wasn't anywhere nearby. At this point, let the Arcane Phoenix feast. It should be able to deal with these knights relatively easily. Zintler's Reiksguard, I think, are immune to psychology, so the terror routes won't really hit them. But, I mean, he can just kill them off at this point. Make sure they're all gone. Now, I don't know what these state troops did to the steam tank, but the driver for that thing is going mad. I know he's trying to kill the mage, but there must have been a few bodyguards in that state troop formation. They really pissed him off, because he's having none of it, and he just blasted 20 of them into Age of Sigmar. That was pretty messed up. He did more damage to the state troops than the mage did. Be gone, Thought! I mean, she just got her salad tossed hard. She just went flying, and the steam tank ain't done with her yet. Another one. Like DJ Khaled. Another one. Be gone, Thought. Get out of my face. She's wavering, as I think we all would be, after getting smashed by a massive chassis and that superior Altdorf engineering. And the cavalry is coming in just in time to pin down Teclis on that Arcane Phoenix to prevent him from landing a few more attacks into the unprotected rear of that tank. This is getting super close. Bounce Bar is dead even. We're 12 minutes in. Spears moving forward to try to stop his rampage. Teclis just bowled right through. Like the mass changes didn't even happen. Another regrowth coming down. Now this should be interesting. Let's see how close it gets to the healing cap. I bet you he will hit the healing cap at this point. That's second regrowth and probably the second potion of Shiroyer. He's used to this game. Anyway, not using it yet. But yeah, this duel with the steam tank will decide the battle. Balance of power is in favor of the High Elves at the moment. Teclis is at the healing cap now. He's at 2,300 HP. Steam Tank has way less and cannot win this duel on its own. The cavalry is coming in. Those Outriders, hardly champions in melee, could be game changers here in CQB if they just provide a little bit of cushion for the pushing. Near that Steam Tank is down to 700 HP. They'll just block up the charges of Teclis on his Burden of Doom and maybe prevent the Arcane Phoenix from landing that killing blow on the tank. Down to 700. Let's see if he's able to get those single entity attacks through all these other bodies. Down to 347. And one more strike, enough to explode it. It's disappointing that doesn't kill Imperial troops that are around the tank. I feel like any troops that are around the tank should take damage from that. Bounce bar in favor of the High Elves still, but they're crawling it back. Teclis is fully surrounded now. Terror routes kicking in, but not for the immune to psych Zittler's Reichsguard. Still, they shattered anyway. The Burb has to fight Spears, and the Imperials managed to take it in a crazy ending where the steam tank put in a ton of work, where Gelt did absolutely nothing. Like I said, Teclis is a hard counter to Gelt when he's on the Arcane Phoenix. 120 speed is faster than 112. Quicksilver could not get away. Then you put some Net of Ammontox in there and all that melee prowess, and yeah, the Arcane Phoenix just ran train on Gelt. But even losing Gelt so early in the game, we saw the cavalry make a huge impact in this one. Many of them over 1,500 damage value. Some of them approaching 200 kills. The downhill charges into the spears and the rangers were fantastic. And the steam tank itself earned almost 3,000 damage value. Now that's going to be a little bit inflated because we saw a lot of friendly fire from the steam gun that game. I'd venture to guess he killed 30, 40, maybe even close to 50 Imperial state troops with that gun throughout the course of the game. So yeah, that was probably not ideal, but the heavy cav for Sarmatian and the Empire was awesome. Got some great charges in the Outrider play as well. Both of them earned almost 2,000 damage value. That was all from shooting into Teclis. I think if the mage for the Azur had decided to leave that engagement over in the corner of the map and come on over to the steam tank when it was isolated like that, sure, the Outriders would have been able to follow and shoot into him for a little bit more, but they were doing that anyway. When he had the archers and the Lothran Sea Guard online, Teclis could have came over way earlier, and I think if he puts a little bit more emphasis on killing that steam tank early in the game, he would have been in a great opportunity, or had a great opportunity, to close the one out at the end. It was a really close one. Really well played to both players. Both had some great moves, but I think that that might have been the difference in the game. Phoenix King played that well. Sarmatian played it a little bit better. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one.